you want to talk about
I like running out of worlds.
Final Fantasy XIV's big old thing? Because there's a surprising line for it at E3 this year.
Not surprising at all.
Stormblood?
Everybody has, honestly, that game continues to survive in an MMO market where subscription models have mostly died off, except from the big dogs, and they are lucky to be able to call themselves one. Stormblood.
Yeah, baby.
Although Darkest Dungeons has been taking most of my time, I have dipped in. I've got my Red Mage cooking. We're casting spells.
Ooh.
I've got both the Red Mage and the Samurai going.
Okay.
Those are the two new classes for the expansion. Focusing on the Red Mage. That's who I'll be maining this expansion.
And what they're cooking up, is it good eating, Dan?
Yeah, it's actually, it's not like the bold, blazing new trails on like the character class frontier, but it's a neat concept. You cast one spell, then you get the next spell free. So like you cast a little dumb spell, and then you cast your big spell without a cast timer, which is really nice.
So
and
it's the Kmart of Final Fantasy classes.
You get to like do a rotation of both black and white magic, and you have like bars that fill up, and then you get to use rapier skills as well at close range. So he's like in combat, out of combat, ranged caster, but sometimes in the battle to like blow up his bar of resources. It's interesting. It's not like the traditional. It's not like a red mage that I know from the classic Final Fantasies, which is basically crappy black magic and crappy white magic together with crappy melee.
Naturally,
it's its own ranged caster class, and it's really cool. And you get XP from PvP now, which is great. As always, there's constant changes coming down the pipeline for that game. I'm still in the leveling process, so I can't talk too much about what's going to happen later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you already like Final Fantasy XIV, you will like this.
Now help us out if we're very stupid. Is this the second expansion?
It
14?
is. This is after Heavensward.
And you were hot on that one too, right?
I thought it was an improvement. Now the big deal for that game with me is I think it's done a lot of things great. It's got great music. It successfully captures the Final Fantasy aesthetic. You got all your favorite nostalgia bombs, from Tonberries to Chocos to mech suits.
We call them Choco Bows, sir.
I'm just abbreviating.
The hip lingo.
Our audience knows what a Chocobo is.
Sure.
Right? So it does a great job at nailing all that stuff, and even tying in games, for like ancient games, like even Final Fantasy I characters from Final Fantasy I.
Characters?
Yes. Like the old blind
There
witch.
are some characters.
Yeah, there are. There are characters in the first
totally
Final Fantasy.
characters.
Final Fantasy 1 is a great game.
I'm not crapping on Final Fantasy 1. I'm just trying to figure out how they rope in characters from Final Fantasy 1 into this.
Yeah, it's because it's the Final Fantasy universe, so it does some pretty liberal things with the lore. But they're
hang on
there.
a second. I didn't think that outside of Dissidia, a thing such as the Final Fantasy universe existed. Do they have any explanations of the lore? Like, a portal, and then
you go to different even as back as Heavensward, we were going to destinations from other Final Fantasies.
Well, I understand like Costa del Sol and stuff is in there from 7, I remember.
And then you have like a literal dungeon from 5, I believe.
But it's all just fan service. It's not like there's any lore explanation for why suddenly this character from Final Fantasy 1
They attempt to put quest lines together to...
I know, but do they explain or attempt to explain why everything's
some things
merging?
Yes and some things no. Again, like Costa del Sol, as far
You're like
as I
the
know.
Sphinx, Dan. I can't.
No, the more of like the game doesn't want to really get into those details.
Yeah, I mean, I played enough of that game. I think I know what Dan's talking about. Like, there's they're giving you nods a lot of times, but without being without explicitly saying like this character has traveled from another Final Fantasy universe.
It's great fan service.
At least the ones that I encountered.
It's its own universe.
Yeah, it is its own thing, but it's very clear when you run into those towns or those characters that
it's its own universe that uses things
nods.
From, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that mystery.
Is it kind of like Tingle showing up in multiple Zelda games, but them never explicitly saying it's the same Tingle? Is that kind of the idea?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
I was trying to find
these are
line of comparison.
Mike.
They're canonical within the own 14 universe, right?
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't mean that it extends outside of that.
Gotcha. So new fan service this time around outside of the character classes?
I'm sure there is. I'm still working up those levels, man.
There's a lot to get through. Huh?
You have to start at 50 on the new classes. So the grind has begun yet again, exploring some of the same areas.
So do you have to have a character that you have gotten to 50?
You have to have a character at cap, which is 6. No, wait, 60 is the new cap, right? No, 70 is. So
Okay.
you have to have a 60, I think.
Okay.
A class level 60 in order to make the new level 50s. And I had my machinist back from Heavensward, who's really cool now. He was lame for like a whole year, and now he's awesome, and now I'm switching classes.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll take him out for a spin later too. But I'm going to focus on the Red Mage.
Yeah,
so
right on. So Final Fantasy 14, I think when we were at Square Enix covering 15, they called 14 a fat pillar of the company at this point, which is funny terminology.
I mean, after the disaster that was the original launch, and they had so much riding on that game, and it's been years and years, and people still love it. Again, one of the sticking points has always been like the flow of combat and the global cooldown for me. A little slower, feels a little stiffer than other games. But I don't know if that's gonna. It seems quicker this time around, but I don't know that. Let's wait till I get into the dungeons if I start going to sleep.
Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.